So I picked up these seats right over here probably 2 weeks ago, and I just got in all the hardware to actually mount these into the car. So I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of what it is that we actually have and how it's going to be going into the car. So starting off, these Sparco Sprint Juniors, as you can see right over there. These seats are discontinued, but they are very period correct for the MR2, and I got them for pretty much a steal on Facebook Marketplace. I got them for less than $300 for 2 of them. So I went and scooped them up. Now they have small little nicks and scratches and tears, but nothing too big. And as soon as I came home, I went on eBay and ordered up some stuff. So there's 2 ways that you can get these seats mounted up. You can simply get the seat and get a mounting bracket, which you see on the right hand side over here, which will mount up to, you know, whatever type of vehicle you're going to put it into. And if you want the option of sliding the seat, then you'll need to buy a slider. So I went ahead and got a Sparco slider just because I didn't know if the Corbeau ones would work or not, and I didn't want to have to deal with the issues there. So I just went and got these Sparco sliders that will mate up to this mounting bracket right here, and then that will allow the seat to bolt right into the car. There are cheaper ways of doing this. I mean, if you have old seats and you want to hack up the framing from there and adapt it to an aftermarket seat, you can definitely do that. But given that this MR2 is pretty old, parts are kind of hard to find, I didn't want to destroy the original seats. So that's why I went this route. So if I ever want to pull them out, swap them out, and, you know, put in the stock ones, I can easily do that. So I flipped the seat around, and you can see why these seats were so cheap. So these both sat in a garage where there was some small, you know, flooding. So all the holes over there were pretty rusted through. So if you remember from the Land Cruiser video where I was talking about the Eastwood rust dissolver, well, that came in handy. So I poured a bunch down on each of these holes, let it soak overnight, and then I went ahead with this right here, purchased this, which is a tap and die set. So for most seats, including Sparco's, the thread pitch is a M8 1.25, so that's what you purchase. And when all these holes were kind of filled up with rust, so what I did was I simply put these in and just started threading them slowly, you know, a quarter turn, and then backing it out, another quarter turn, back it out. And it's a slow process with PB Blast, but, you know, all the bolt holes now have very clean threads, so I can easily put the slider onto them now. So first what we're going to be doing is putting the slider on, and then after that we put the mounting plate, and then it can all go into the car. What's up, guys? So we are picking up where we left off yesterday. So you can see behind me we got one of the Sparco seats there. So last night we went ahead and put on the sliders and the bottom brackets that mount up to the actual mounting brackets, or not brackets, but mounting holes on the car itself. So I have one of the seats in there loosely fitted, so I'm going to show you guys how it's fitting and how these brackets are working out, and we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between the aftermarket brackets that came off of eBay that are on the Sparcos versus the fitment of the stock seat, which obviously is meant for the car, so it's perfect. So we're gonna dive right in. Alright, so taking a look into the car, you can see that the brackets are mounted only on the front holes right there. There was a little bit of an issue on the rear, which we're gonna show you guys in just a moment on the 2 seats that are outside of the car. So this is kind of how the seat sits in comparison to the factory seat. It's pretty similar. When you actually sit inside, the driver and passenger height, the seat height, is pretty much the same. The only difference is that these are pretty significant buckets. So as you can see from the thigh lip, the thigh support rather, you sit in and you're really hugged in place. So we're going to move over to the actual seats now, and I can tell you the issue that we're running into. Over here we got an example of the stock seat sitting side by side to the Sparco. So if you look at the base of the seat itself, like where your butt kind of rests, these seats are very, very similar in height. The only difference that is causing a slight fitment issue right now is that bracket right there. That's from eBay. And I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that there would be a little bit of a fitment issue. It's not a big deal. We're just gonna have to bend up some brackets. So if you look right over here, these back mounting hole brackets are perfectly flat to the actual bracket itself. Whereas on the stock seat rails, it has a slight curvature downward, and so we're gonna have to bend these to kind of mimic that so that when the bolt's actually going through, it's not under stress on these tabs over here in the gray bracket, and we have a flush seating of the bolt head going into the chassis of the vehicle itself. So my plan is, I think I'm gonna get a rubber mallet first, just so I don't mess up the paint on that. Try that out. If it's not giving me enough, then we'll probably bust out a metal hammer. But I think for the most part a rubber mallet should work for this, so we're gonna try and do that now. I went ahead and just bent these up. It looks like it just didn't really want to budge with the rubber mallet because the rubber itself just takes too much of the shock. So what I had to do is just bust out some pliers, some vice grips, and bend it out. So unfortunately the paint did crack, as you can see right over here. But it's not too big a deal. I mean, it's better to get this bracket the way that we need it versus worrying about some cracking paint that we can fix easily. So we're gonna go ahead and take, this is the driver's seat here, so we're going to take out the passenger seat, do the same thing, get that in there, bolt it up 100%, and then start working on taking out the driver's seat. So dressed up, I'm gonna have to run out to Home Depot or the hardware store because you ran into a little bit of a snag. So right over here is a seat belt, and I've got the bolt for it. I took it off the stock seat, but I failed to realize that the new seat brackets, these gray ones over here, don't actually have a pre-existing like welded nut to it. So this has nothing to bolt into, and unfortunately I don't have any nuts that are this thread pitch. So first of all, I gotta go to Home Depot, figure out what it is, and see if they have it. So it's gonna be a little bit of a shot in the dark because that is mostly a home improvement store, so they might not have what I'm looking for. Definitely a hardware store would have it, but being that it's Christmas Eve tomorrow, it's most likely gonna be closed, so I'm just gonna take a shot and see if I can get it so that I can at least finish this up tonight and not have to have it roll into another day or something. Before we jump into the third part of this, so it's the third day now that we're working on it. I did end up going to the hardware store this morning because it was open. So first of all, we were talking about last night that this seatbelt, the bracket that holds onto it and the bolt, they were having an issue. So if you look at this bolt right here, it has a bit of a lip inside here. And what this essentially does is, if you see the hole on the seatbelt itself, it slots in and it allows the bolt to not have to be so thick and allow for movement of the seatbelt itself. So that little lip right there is very necessary. Now to find that at the hardware store is near impossible because this is a specialized bolt. There's no way that a hardware store would carry something like this. So what I went ahead and did was try and find a nut for this at Home Depot. We struck out there. So I went to the hardware store, which usually has a bigger selection, more thread pitch options. So as I said, this was an M12 and it's a fine pitch. So the finest pitch I could get here, I believe this is a 1.25. So you'll see it starts to thread in pretty good, but then it comes to a hard stop. So the threads are binding and that's about as far as we can get in there. So this is not working either. So then I was like, okay, we're gonna need to go to a different bolt setup to make this work, or I have to order up the part, and that's gonna take days, and I just don't want to wait that long. So what I went ahead and did was bought some new hardware, again M12, but this time I did a coarse bolt and nut, and those are fairly standard. I'm not going to show you guys that. What I did purchase that is important is this washer right here. So these are brass washers that just ended up fitting perfectly within the seatbelt, and it has little to no play, just like the stock one. The issue was that these were much taller. I think this is used for plumbing, so I had to bust out the angle grinder and grind it down. So that's kind of why you see the shiny edge right there. But now this slots in perfectly, and if I grab one of the new bolts that I just purchased. You'll see now this is working just like the factory bolt did. So here's the factory bolt right here with the lip, and we're mimicking that with this right here. So this is gonna work. You know, we're gonna keep the factory spring washer and just bolt it up to the Sparcos, and we should be good to go. It is the day after Christmas, and as you can see behind me, the seats are in. So we're gonna go take this car for a quick trip. We're gonna do a little bit of post-Christmas shopping today. So I thought it'd be a good day to take it out. It's gonna be dry outside. Our roads did get treated, but it's not too bad right now, and as long as it's not wet outside, it won't really spit up. It'll just be dust, and I'll probably clean the undercarriage of this car before I really put it away for winter, so we should be okay. So I'm gonna take it out. I'll give you guys a few more shots of the inside, you know, once we're in better lighting, so you guys can get an idea of how it looks. Just got home from shopping. I was trying to show you some GoPro footage that I filmed earlier with this car while we were out running errands, but it looks like the angle was all off. You can't really see much, plus there's a lot of sun glare. So real quick, this is the MR2 right over here. So let me give you guys a quick walk around real quick, because this car probably will be going away for winter pretty soon. So this is a 92 MR2. It's sitting on 300ZX wheels, if you're wondering. Now, they're not Toyota wheels, I know, but they're period correct and they look pretty good on this car, and the offset is perfect. So that's what I have in here. You can tell by the deck lid it is not raised, so this is an NA car. It's got some eBay headers on it and just a custom exhaust. These cars are normally a dual outlet, but I'd worked with a friend that does a lot of welding, and he got it to a single exit. Now that little shiny piece you see in there, it's just the Amazon muffler. It really doesn't do too much, but it keeps the noise at a tolerable level. So let's jump in real quick. So these seats are in. Finished them up last night. So brackets down there with the black piece, that's the sliders. And the one part we were having trouble with, the seat belts. So you can see they're tucked all the way in there. And here's the driver's side one. This one came out a little bit better because I bent the bracket, so it's easier to get that in. So we're gonna have to bend this one so it's near the tunnel, the transmission tunnel. We got some little cushions on the bottom of the seats just for now. I think I gotta figure out something to get some more butt support on these, but otherwise it feels fine. So yeah, that's this car. So unfortunately, as it's getting cold and the roads are getting salted, probably not going to be able to take this car out too much more. But, you know, there will be a lot of Land Cruiser content.